Good afternoon and welcome to today's proceedings of the Senate, this being the 4th day of March 2020. This broadcast is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. The broadcast is available on KBC Channel 1 as well as Senate TV. You can also stream it on YouTube. We'll take a look at the order of business this afternoon. There are a number of statements which will be issued this afternoon. Two of the statements are pursuant to Standing Order 47, Subsection 1, and four of the statements are pursuant to Standing Order 48, Subsection 1. Nominated Senator Rosa Nyamunga will make a statement on the menace that is caused by security personnel manning business premises. Nominated Senator Dr. Alice Milgo will make a statement concerning medical interventions to address the challenges brought about by diabetes in Kenya. And pursuant to Standing Order 48, Subsection 1, the Senator for Lamu County, Senator Anwar Loitiptip, will seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation regarding the LAPSET Presidential Scholarship Program in Lamu County. Under the same standing order, the nominated Senator Rosa Nyamunga, will seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries concerning the state of Ahero and West Kano irrigation schemes. Senator for Mombasa County, Senator Mohamed Faki, will seek a statement from the Committee on Roads and Transportation on the demolition of houses of people in areas of Mweba in Miritini, that is Jomvu constituency in Mombasa County. And finally, nominated Senator Dr. Alice Mirgo will seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources concerning the implementation of the National Land Use Policy in the counties. The Chairperson Ad Hoc Committee to investigate the managed medical equipment services will seek an extension of mandate of the Select Committee. Not aware that the Senate resolves to establish a Select Committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in the now 119 beneficiary hospitals countrywide. Appreciating that the mandate of the Select Committee is due to lapse on Friday, 6th March 2020, regretting that due to heavy workload and sheer magnitude of the assignment, the committee is yet to table its report in the House and requires more time to hold hearings with crucial witnesses, among them Mr. James Masharia, the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works, Dr. Nicholas Muraguri, Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, and Ambassador Dr. Cleofas Meilu. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 30 days to enable it conclude its work and table its report in the House. That motion will be moved by the chairperson ad hoc committee to investigate the managed medical equipment services. Also in the order of business this afternoon, a number of motions which have been lined up for debate for second reading. The debate on them had already begun, and that debate will resume today. The Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill number 2, this is a National Assembly bill. The Circle Societies Amendment Bill, another National Assembly bill. The Fisheries Management and Development Amendment Bill. This one is a Senate Bill number 22 of 2019. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill number 3, a National Assembly bill. And in the Committee of the Whole House, the senators will be considering National Assembly amendments to the Office of the County Attorney Bill, the Petition to County Assemblies Procedure Bill, as well as the Early Childhood Education Bill. And now I will hand you over for this live broadcast of the Senate proceedings on this 4th day of March 2020. My name is Edward Kabasa. Enjoy your viewing.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting students and teachers from Kabiro School, Nairobi County. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on my own behalf and the Senate, I wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. Okay, Honorable Senators, I have another communication to make. Okay, come in. Honorable Senators, on Thursday, 27th February 2020, during the debate on the motion on the adoption of the report of the Parliament of Kenya delegation to the 50th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association CPA African Region Conference, the Senator for Homa Bay County, Senator Moses Kajwang, rose on a point of order seeking direction from the chair as to whether the report of the said delegation was properly before the Senate. The Senator argued that the report of the delegation had not been signed by a member of the Senate who participated in the proceedings of the conference, and as such, the signatory to the report was a stranger to the House. Honorable Senators, it is important to note that tradition has it that delegation reports are signed by the leader of the delegation and tabled in both houses of Parliament as they are parliamentary delegations. However, the point of order raised by Senator for Homa Bay has brought an important perspective to the proceedings of the Senate. Therefore, to avoid uncertainty as to the propriety of journals before the Senate, we are in consultation with the other House on the best and most pragmatic way of dealing with reports of parliamentary delegations, taking cognizance of the fact that in certain instances, one House represents the Parliament of Kenya at events. In the meantime, the report of the Parliament of Kenya delegation to the 50th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, CPA, African Region Conference is properly before the Senate. I thank you. Senator Milgo. I think you wanted to welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, let me join you in welcoming the students from Kabiro School, Nairobi County. I wish to tell them, to encourage them to go back after this session in this House and really work hard. I wish to tell them that the Senate is a house of order. It is here where we make laws that govern various institutions in this country. And I want to say that looking at this house, you'll realize that we have got both genders, meaning that if you work hard, your dreams will always be valid. And one time, you'll be in this house as well. I wish to say that you have very strong leaders in your county. One of them is Senator Sakaja, who is my chair in the Labor Committee, a committee that is working very hard, solving a lot of issues, labor issues. And we also have Senator Manga, Senator Kwamboka, Senator Pedmuko, and very many other leaders. So I wish to encourage you to work hard, be disciplined, be focused, and shine in school so that come the future, you'll go very high. Thank you, Mr. Speakers.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honorable Senators, I hereby report to the Senate that a petition has been submitted by Dr. Isaac Mwangi Mugo and Mr. P. Njiraine Wanjohi regarding recognition of graduates in range management and animal production course to treat livestock diseases offer related extension services. 2, as you are aware, Article 119(1) of the Constitution, and I quote, every person has a right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including enacting, amending, or repealing any legislation. Honorable Senators, the salient issues raised in the petition are, A, that since the passage of the Veterinary Surgeons and Veterinary Paraprofessionals Act in 2011, graduates who had undertaken training in range management and annual production at the government-run Animal Health and Industry Training Institute, AHITI, have been discriminated against through non-recognition of their qualifications to treat livestock diseases and other related extension services. Come in. Take your seats. B, that the said officers have also been discriminated against when it comes to assessing continuous professional development, CPD, opportunities for professionals serving in the veterinary field, thus impending on their career growth and progression. C, that additionally the said graduates are not represented on regulatory bodies such as the Kenya Veterinary Board, KVB, which has further extended their marginalization, and D, that there's a huge shortage of agriculture extension officers in the counties, and correcting the anomaly in the law to recognize the academic qualifications of these officers would enable them to secure employment with county governments and thus address the said shortage. The petitioner therefore prays that the Senate A1 amends the Veterinary Surgeons and Veterinary Paraprofessional Act 2011 with a view to match the range management and animal production course with that of animal health and production. 2, advocates for graduates who have graduated with the range management and animal production courses to be permitted to handle livestock diseases and provide extension services, which will also cure the shortage of veterinarians in the country. 3, advocates that the Kenya Veterinary Board permits all students trained in livestock disease and related fields to be permitted to access the continuous professional development course. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order number 231, I shall now allow comments, observations, or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Senator Locorio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this petition. Mr. Speaker, recently I came here with information that 70% of veterinary doctors will be retiring in 2 years' time. And therefore, I had sought a statement from the Ministry of Agriculture to tell us how they are managing the succession in in this area of vet management and animal production services. Mr. Speaker, even as we wait for that statement, this petition comes in handy, and it is providing a solution to the shortage we expect of veterinary doctors or meat inspectors in this country. Mr. Speaker, it also comes at the right time when we have the coronavirus and other viruses that are transmitted through animals. And if we do not manage this process properly, Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to have these diseases that are spread through animals because we do not have enough vet doctors to deal with this issue or to make sure that we are eating meat that is inspected, that is healthy for us. So recognizing these graduates of vet management and animal production services is crucial so that they can meet the shortage in the meantime. Let us recognize their certificates, their levels of education, incorporate them in the county government structure because, Mr. Speaker, agriculture is a devolved function so that counties are able to make use of these graduates, deal with the shortage, which will be massive in 2 years' time. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the petitioners.
Senator Professor Ongeri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You yourself, you know, at one time you were the Permanent Secretary, Livestock and Development. And one of the most critical areas, Mr. Speaker, is that we need to have a very highly well-oiled and drilled and trained manpower to manage our livestock industry. It's one of the expanding industry. It's one of the important channels of income generation for small farmers and small holders of small little parcels of land. And unless we have very competent and highly trained and well-motivated technical officers, it's going to be very extremely difficult to be able to handle the livestock animals as it is today. One of the reasons, and particularly in Kisii County, where the parcels of land are shrinking in strips of or pieces of land, and you are aware, you are the DO and the DC there, we need to be able to keep livestock. And the only person who can be able to reach on time are these veterinary technicians, the para-veterinary technicians. I remember when I was the Minister for Health, one of the things I had to grapple with is to be able to create a structure where the health cadre workers required some level of recognition depending on the type of qualification they have got. We had the technicians who are certificated, we also had the diploma holders, and we then created another cadre of technologists. Literally, people were working in the laboratory to be able to help the medical cadre, apart from nurses, clinical officers, and the other people. I believe that the veterinary medicine and the human medicine go in line and in parallel in terms of order and hierarchy in the management of these professionals. Therefore, I support this petition, and I'll be looking forward to my input on this petition because I think it answers the very critical element of the devolution of livestock, agriculture to counties, and therefore you need competent, well-versed individuals, and more so when you know that the surgeons who are now going to retire after 70 years, it will leave this area rather bare. Therefore, I support this petition, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Moses Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank these two individuals who have sent the petition to this House. Mr. Speaker, ordinarily, in fact, the Committee for Agriculture and Livestock Development in this House should be championing this kind of things, even without ordinary citizens prompting this House. And I do hope, Mr. Speaker, that the eventual outcome of this petition will be an amendment to the law. If you go to the countryside, Mr. Speaker, and many senators here, including my distinguished colleague from Uasin Gishu, are very good dairy farmers. And they will tell you that 90% of their attention to their livestock is not by degree holders It is by certificate holders, diploma holders from the commonly called Ahiti colleges. These animal health industry training institutes. And they do a wonderful job. There is not a single degree holder out there, Mr. Speaker, who is carrying out AI services or field extension services that go from farm to farm, home to home, battling diseases against poultry, against goats, against cows, and all livestock. So for a law that discriminates against this cadre of professionals, as Professor Ongere has said, Mr. Speaker, is actually retrogress. Because out there, even when you go to other fields like engineering, one engineer needs about 200 mechanics, fitters, and spanner boys to work. One doctor needs almost 100 nurses to optimally work. And it is this kind of people that turn the economy. If you go to a country like Germany, Mr. Speaker, it is those low-level, mid-level colleges that churn out graduates that turn the wheel of the economy. So I want to urge the committee, Mr. Speaker, that you will commit this petition to move urgently and restore the respect, dignity, and recognition of this cadre of veterinary professionals. If you look back, Mr. Speaker, and the colleagues who have been a little longer around, like my sister Beth Mugo, they will tell you that in the old days, whether it's in coffee farms, in maize farms, in dairy farms, it is these diploma and certificate holders that moved around to help farmers. And that situation has not changed. Today, Mr. Speaker, if we are talking of devolved veterinary services, employing a certificate and diploma holder by the counties is cheaper than employing a degree holder. And they'll give the same services. So this petition is very important, Mr. Speaker, and the committee should bring results as quickly as possible. Equally important, Mr. Speaker, and this is to the chair, we have petitions as good as this. The committees will work and bring reports here. But this House does not have an implementation committee that will follow up the outcome and ensure that whatever the committees are doing, the Houses is resolving, are brought to amend the law and change policy to help the country. I want to urge that we bring back the implementation committee, Mr. Speaker, so that when the outcomes such as this come, then the committee will obligate and monitor the committees to ensure that accompanying and attendant legislation comes for the people to benefit from the industry and courage of patriotic Kenyans, such as this Mr. Mwangi Mugo and Njiraini Wanjohi, whom I congratulate for bringing this matter because it is so critically important to the success of devolution, particularly in the field of agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to rise by saying I support this petition on recognition of graduates in range management and animal production course to treat animal disease. Mr. Speaker, some of us who come from areas where we rely heavily on animal production and issues of milk, the animal health is very critical. And therefore, when the animal is healthy, of course, the milk production will be quite high, even in terms of meat production and any other, Mr. Speaker, sir. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, this petition is timely. We, in our counties, Mr. Speaker, especially where we come, the farmers, is that we have inadequate number of extension officers, those veterinary officers that do assist farmers in advice, in ensuring that the animal health and animal production is kept, because we should at least try to minimize the input and maximize the input, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, the veterinary officers and to treat animal and control disease has been a huge challenge, and that is why most farmers have been affected in one way or another. And I think agriculture being one of the devolved functions, Mr. Speaker, sir, we should encourage counties to ensure we increase the various professionals in terms of extension services to our farmers, not only in animal production, but other production that we do in farming. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think this is rightful that this recognition should be given so that even counties can be self-reliant. Because, Mr. Speaker, even in northern Kenya, the part of the Western Kenya, part of North Rift, and among other areas where they rely, we need these professionals, veterinary officers, that will ensure the extension services and provision of animal health is being provided, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, even as we look at this petition, and I hope the committee that you will direct to will do this thing expeditiously, Mr. Speaker, we should also, in as much as we invest in the animal health and animal production, we should also look at the pricing. And I want to commend the President Uhuru Kenyatta the other day, a few months ago, gave direction that KCC should buy more milk. And we are being told by Meteorological Department, Mr. Speaker, that in the planting season has begun, the rains have also started again. So we expect the milk production will go high. So, Mr. Speaker, we hope with the directive of the President, the KCC and other actors and agencies should ensure that they continue to mop up more milk so that we don't see a milk glut, so that even as we invest in animal health, animal extension services, our farmers can get value for their money, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I look forward to the final petition and the report from the committee so that we can ensure the recognition of more professionals and putting in place and focus the more focus in supporting our farmers through extension services. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. This petition is timely, and I agree with Senator Wetangula that maybe we should have recognized this team of people earlier. In fact, Speaker, I'm wondering why you need 60 days. In this particular petition, they are just simply asking the committee to move an amendment. The public participation about their inclusion into this profession and recognition can be dealt with at public participation. The amendment should come on the floor. Once the bill is published, Mr. Speaker, we would like to hear the objections that have been raised by the various stakeholders, but more importantly, to understand why they have been excluded. Mr. Speaker, the need to do this cannot be overemphasized. The governor of Kitui attempted artificial insemination recently and ran into headwinds, absolute headwinds. Everybody was wondering what she was doing. Part of the reason is because we don't have extension officers, people to explain artificial insemination. All the Mukambas in Kitui were just wondering what in the world is artificial insemination. So, Mr. Speaker, this is not only urgent, it surprised me a great deal. And those who speak to government functionaries should listen. That the Arab Emirates are importing beef from Ethiopia. When we have a lot of our neighbors from Kajiado and Narok, who are famous for livestock production, have their cows roaming everywhere. This is something we can exploit. And I still believe, Mr. Speaker, that while I've heard that the people who are promoting agriculture, I've heard it recently, that the people who are promoting agriculture want to be considered one man, one vote, 1 shilling. I want us to consider the people who are doing livestock. 1 man, 1 cow, 1 vote, 1 shilling or something. Thank you.
Senator Bogisho. That's a nice one.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Let me also join the rest in supporting this petition. Speaker, you know, we're going this way now, even with public health. We are considering community health workers. It means we are beginning to look at how to reach the villages in our country, in the remote areas. These graduates from Haiti and other institutions will help a lot in getting to the far-flung areas of our country to help with farming, especially in livestock farming and range management. And so I want to congratulate the petitioners and wish them well. I also pray that, I also ask that the committee that's going to handle this will begin to understand that there was a time in this country, Mr. Speaker, when we had institutions, we converted them to institutions of higher learning, we shut down some of those colleges, we didn't think they were useful. It's time to bring them back and open more so that these people can be trained even in the counties themselves, so that we have many of them. So that even if they are not employed by the county government, Speaker, farmers themselves can begin to hire these particular people in their farms and in their, for their own services. So I would just like to say that let's move in that direction. We cannot really wish them away. This is the cadre that will help most of us, especially in people who are living in the roaming communities, roaming with livestock. These are the people who can actually walk with and work with the pastoralists. And I thank you. I support.
Senator Kabaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity also to contribute to this important petition. Mr. Speaker, you do recall that since mid-80s, the national government stopped absorbing university graduates of the Department of the Veterinary Medicine. And I do remember some of our classmates of that time, they really suffered. While other graduates were being observed, like teachers in education sectors, and others in agriculture sector, they were being left out. And up to date, they have never been the same. Madam Speaker, sorry, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm sorry, yesterday we had a madam there. that is a slip of tongue. Mr. Speaker, sir, the training of these young men and women takes place at Haiti, that is in its branches in Kabete, and Senator Mutula should listen. Senator Junior Mutula, you need to listen and hear this. Maybe you didn't know that. Your father-in-law, the late Anseli Munasia, was a registrar of Haiti, Kabete. Formerly, a friend of our speaker who worked under you when you were PS, Dr. Ansent Mutua, happened to have been also the principal of Haiti, Kabete, and currently is the principal of Haiti Ndoba. That one I know authoritatively. We also have another school of meat situated at the river in Mavoko, in my constituency. Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying in short is that this country is not short of a pool of technocrats in that area of veterinary and range management. They are very learned people because I do appreciate they deal with what we call zoonotics. Zoonotics, for those who are ignorant, is what we call the science of animal and human disease. So, as we face this tragedy of coronavirus, I think there are no better placed personnel to deal with this problem than these people. Mr. Speaker, sir, if indeed we go by analogy of the medicine, we do appreciate we have very few doctors in Kenya in terms of the population ratio. But we know the people do the donkey work. And nurses are listening, I'm sure. Almost 80 or 90% are the nurses. They are doing the best. We do even appreciate some areas like Northeastern and those other related areas. You will find maybe one doctor in the entire, Upper Eastern. And the people who really take care of the health status of our people there are the nurses. And therefore, we are saying it is high time, Kenya being an agriculture economy, that these persons be well endowed, they need to be well trained, they need to be well funded, and they need to be given the jobs because they are doing a lot for our own economy. Mr. Speaker, sir, I therefore even insist that their funding need to be enhanced. And Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it's all right.
Senator Machakos. What were you doing yesterday with
Speaker,
madams?
Mr. Speaker, I do appreciate my sugar level is going down. I didn't take my lunch, but that's not to justify the slip of tongue.
What is your point of order, Senator Wetangula?
Speaker, Senator Kabaka is a very articulate and knowledgeable lawyer and senator. He never makes these careless mistakes. What is it he knows that we don't know?
Senator Kabaka.
Thank you. Let me wind up.
There's another point of order from Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Mutula.
Somebody said that the name Kabaka in Uganda is husbands of husbands. Could that be the reason? Too many wives.
Senator Nderit, what's your point of order?
But, Mr. Speaker, I think it's a revenge mission, because in the evening when you normally leave, the other lady speakers are always referred as Mr. Speaker, so I think it's a revenge mission.
But not at the rate at which the senator from Machakos his tongue is slipping. Okay, conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me. Stand supported. It's a nice afternoon jest. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I support your petition that these Kenyan citizens be supported by the state, and let us amend the law where it is necessary to render the relevant effect. I support as I sit, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Margaret Kamara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
3 minutes each now, because we have to manage the time. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this petition and to congratulate Dr. Mugo and Mr. Wanjoy, because it's a very progressive petition they are bringing forward. Mr. Speaker, this country is about 80% arid and semi-arid, which means actually what we call the agricultural mainland is only about 20% of the landmass of the country. These graduates of range management and animal production are some of the people that have been ignored for a very long time. For those of us who have been in extension in our past lives, we know very well that whereas we used to have extension workers, the range managers were very few. They were scattered. Whatever the reason was, they were disadvantaged. I really like the way they are petitioned that they should be able to treat livestock, because a range manager is a very useful person currently in beef production. In fact, even in dairy production, some of us have used them very successfully. So without the aspect of health, without treating animals, you will find that they will go and manage and still look for somebody else to come and treat the animals. And yet, the production aspect is very small, because it's about feeds, which you can even advise a farmer, and they write down and they continue. But the treatment of the animal is what sustains this graduate. So I like this petition because it goes beyond, and the committee should really find it necessary that it goes beyond the current content that is being offered in our institutions. Haiti is well known for animal health. Why we are producing a graduate from an animal health institution who does not practice health is something that Haiti needs to think. So I'm appealing to the committee that if it is necessary, we go beyond just inquiring about whether the current product can do it. If they cannot do it, they must be made to do it, which means the content of health should come in. There is no harm, Mr. Speaker, having an officer who is a range manager, who is an expert in range management, animal production, and health. Because the same Haiti is giving us products or graduates who are experts in animal production and health. Then they have the range management and animal production. What we need is somebody who is packaged properly to be able to manage animals in a rangeland situation, which is in the beef production area, and also be able to treat. So this is a very important thing, and the committee should find it necessary to actually invite the institution and question the curriculum that they are releasing, that they are using to train these experts that we have. Because through this, as was said by Senator Wetangula, that these diploma graduates are doing much more than the graduates. The graduates have narrowed themselves to areas of specialization. So these are the most useful cadre of staff that we have in the field currently, and it is very important that we equip them properly, we distribute them properly, and we start looking at beef. It is also true, as some members have said, that we used once upon a time to export beef. Kenyan beef was one of the best delicacies in the world. Corned beef that was being exported was one of the best products from this country. We need to go back there. And to go back there, we must have experts first in production so that we produce the best beef that you can corn. And then you can add corn and have the corned beef that Kenya was an expert for, and will do well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Amana Malaki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance to support this petition. I wholeheartedly support this petition because, you know, I'm from a pastoral community. Those of us in pastoral communities would appreciate some of these officers, some of these extension officers, some of these range management officers being all over the northern counties, the northeastern counties, because we are a people who depend on our animals. Our existence, our livelihood, our culture, our traditions all depend on these animals. And because of that, these are the people that should be supported by the government so that we produce enough animals to sustain the lives of Kenyans living in the North Rift and Northeastern. Mr. Speaker, when you hear that people are starving and dying in places such as Turkana, the reason is not because of absence of food or anything. It is just something contributed by nature, such as the locusts existing over there. They consume all the grass, and so our animals have nothing to feed on. As a result, they don't produce enough milk, and therefore people start to starve. At the same time, there are diseases. There are diseases that come and wipe out animals. Imagine an old man like Amana sitting there watching his animals get decimated by a certain disease because there is no medicine to treat these animals. It's very heartbreaking in our pastoral communities. So we should have these extension officers, veterinary officers, being out there helping people to deal with these diseases so they don't lose a lot. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this petition because even when you say, when you look at the economy of the country, every time I sell my he-goats, of course the government gets money from that. And so there should be support in such a way that more of those animals can be grown, more of those animals can be reared, so that people have meat to consume. I wonder what Kenyans think in a few years, where do you get your meat? I think those pastoral communities should be helped to grow more animals, to produce more animals, so that the rest of the country can continue to get their proteins, can continue to get their food. So with that, I'd like to support this petition and say it's timely and it's welcome. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Finally, Senator Pareno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this petition, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this is not just a petition, as it were. It is more of a cry from individuals, from people who in this country, young people in this country, who took time to go to school, who took time to take courses, who spend so much time to get an education, and at the end of the day, they come out with certificates. A lot of money was expended to ensure that they get an education. Their parents paid school fees, and at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, they have nowhere to run to other than to come to this Senate because somebody somewhere has not been able to recognize them. Mr. Speaker, why would the Kenya Veterinary Board not recognize people who have been trained and have been churned out to the market? Why would they not allow them to even develop career-wise, Mr. Speaker? So to me, Mr. Speaker, this is louder than just a petition. It is more of a cry that something must be done to these people who have gone to school. Mr. Speaker, we have people, our own children, we have children who have refused to go to school. We have people who are rogue and have refused to even get an education. And we have others who would otherwise have wanted to get an education, but their parents were not able. These particular ones are a group that have gone to school. Why would we not allow them to get out there, get into the market? In fact, denying them to join their professional bodies, denying them recognition in the act means that we are denying these people a livelihood. We are denying them their right of education. And Mr. Speaker, this is so wrong, and I hope that this will be handled with the urgency that it deserves, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I can see Senator Wambua looking at me with begging eyes. Now that people in Kitui didn't understand what artificial insemination is, maybe you can. Let me give you 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the 3 minutes. And I want to join you and my colleagues to support this petition from Mr. Mugo and Mr. Jiraini. The Speaker, I would want to say two things. One, when I look at this petition, the first port of call for me would be to look at the curriculum being offered at Haiti and its relevance to present-day challenges facing livestock farmers in this country. Mr. Speaker, it will be appreciated that we are developing new breeds of livestock every now and then and encountering new diseases affecting our livestock every now and then. And so it will be important that the College Haiti relooks at its curriculum and aligns it with the present-day realities in the livestock industry. Mr. Speaker, on the matter of the petitioners, on behalf of their colleagues, not being allowed to undertake continuous professional development, Mr. Speaker, that's almost criminal, because really, when you go for training and you would want to advance in your field of training, it's only fair that the necessary opportunities are given to you to advance your training in the area that you're specialized in. This country, Mr. Speaker, it has been said that a huge percentage of this country is arid and semi-arid, and that's where we practice a lot of livestock husbandry. The Speaker, the services of extension officers is really needed. And especially as the Senator from Makueni mentioned, there was a recent attempt by the county government of Kitui to undertake artificial insemination, and it ended up very badly. Partly because of poor planning, but for a better part, because of a decision not to use people who are trained and who are professionals in the field of livestock keeping to undertake the projects. So, Mr. Speaker, I would support Mr. Mugo and Mr. Jiraini in this petition and ask that the least, Mr. Speaker, that we can do is to respond to their prayer number 3, that these students be allowed access to continuous professional development courses. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, order, senators. I think in my previous tour of service, like they have said, I worked in Ministry of Livestock. I was actually the PS, and therefore this petition is very important. And pursuant to Standing Order 2321, the petition should be committed to the relevant standing committee for its consideration. So in this case, I direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. In terms of Standing Order 232, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid to the table of the Senate. I hope the committee will move with the speed they did when it came to the report on locusts. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Senator Kika.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, 4th March 2020. Report of the 141st Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in Belgrade, Serbia on the 13th to the 17th of October 2019. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Senator Susan.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion that the Senate notes the report of the Parliament of Kenya delegation to the 141st Assembly of the Inter-Parliamentary Union and related meetings held in Belgrade, Serbia from 13th to 17th October 2019, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th March 2020. Thank you.
Next order. Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to give notice of motion requesting for an extension of the mandate of the Select Committee on the Managed Medical Scheme. And it reads that, aware that the Senate resolves to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in the now 119 beneficiary hospitals countrywide. Appreciating that the mandate of the select committee is due to lapse on Friday, 6th March 2020, regretting that due to heavy workload and sheer magnitude of the assignment, the committee is yet to table its report in the House and requires more time to hold hearing with crucial witnesses, among them Mr. James Masharia, EGH Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works, Dr. Nicholas Gauri, CBS Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, and Ambassador Dr. Cleofas Meilu. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 30 days to enable it to conclude its work and table its report in the House. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Senator Susan Kika.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 47-1 to make a statement on a matter of national, international, as well as of general topical concern, namely celebrating International Women's Day. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is my great pleasure to address you this afternoon in my capacity as the President of the Bureau of Women Parliamentarians of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, the IPU, the World Organization of Parliaments, as we celebrate International Women's Day on 8th of March 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, talking about celebrations, the Inter-Parliamentary Union turned 130 years old just last year. At the time of its creation in 1889, when the IPU first brought together parliamentarians from across the globe, all of them were men. It was only in the early 1920s that women parliamentarians started attending IPU conferences after they were first elected to national parliaments. Mr. Speaker, sir, today women are extremely prominent and vocal in the organization as a result of the mechanisms provided by the Bureau and Forum of Women Parliamentarians. For women to influence the decisions made at interparliamentary forums, the IPU has been a pioneer in introducing positive measures to ensure women occupy key positions in the organization. For example, in the 1980s, quotas for women in the executive committee were introduced. Resultantly, the executive committee today is made up of nearly 40% women and is chaired by Gabriela Cuevas, a young woman parliamentarian from Mexico, and just the second woman to occupy this position in IPU's history. Mr. Speaker, sir, this experience shows that there is political will. However, we still have a very long way to go based on data collected by the IPU. Mr. Speaker, sir, 2020 is a watershed moment. We are celebrating 25 years since the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which provides a roadmap for gender equality. In 1995, the states that were gathered in Beijing committed to achieving gender equality in political decision-making. 25 years later, we have gained 13.6% points in women's representation in parliaments, moving from 11.3% to 24.9% overall. We have not even reached the 30% as an intermediate target. Mr. Speaker, sir, from a regional point of view, political momentum since the 1990s has led the Americas to make substantial progress. The region has reached over 31% of women parliamentarians on average in national parliaments, up from 13% in 1995. Europe comes second, just below 30%, and sub-Saharan Africa is third, with 24.4% women parliamentarians. This is something to be proud of, since 25 years ago, Africa stood at less than 10% women members of parliament. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Middle East and North Africa region has made spectacular progress, moving from just over 4% in 1995 to more than 16% in 2020. Since the mid-2000s, no country in the region restricts women's rights to vote or stand for elections any longer. And after Qatar had women appointed to parliament in 2017, the region no longer has parliaments without women members of parliament. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regards women speakers, they are now 1 in 5, whereas in 1995 they were 1 in 10. Today, among 57 women speakers, 16 are in sub-Saharan Africa, the same figure as in Europe. Progress is real, but far too slow. We need to move faster. Mr. Speaker, sir, since Beijing, the IPU has made it clear that genuine democracy requires gender equality in representation and in effective decision-making power. Today, we know that gender equality in decision-making is also key to achieving sustainable development and peace. Therefore, there should be no more talk about why it matters, but rather how we get there. Mr. Speaker, sir, in line with the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, positive measures have been adopted in every single continent, both at the level of political parties and in electoral laws. 130 countries have some type of gender quota in place. These measures aim to redress the historical discrimination that has led to women's underrepresentation in politics, such as limited access to resources, lesser decision-making power within families and society, and gender stereotypes that confine women to the domestic sphere. Mr. Speaker, sir, while we need to address these underlying causes of women's underrepresentation, there are measures that can have immediate effect and increase the number of women in political leadership. At the IPU, we have supported parliaments to enter legislation that promotes women's participation. These measures help break down mental barriers, both to the public and to the women themselves, who have role models to aspire to. Mr. Speaker, sir, in spite of this, gender quotas should not become another glass ceiling for women. By targeting a minimum goal or critical mass of 30%, for the IPU, 50-50 should be the ultimate goal and the norm everywhere. Mr. Speaker, sir, today Rwanda and Bolivia have reached the top of the IPU ranking of women in parliament through laws on affirmative action that have allowed them to achieve gender parity. Others have followed suit, such as the UAE and Mexico. Mr. Speaker, sir, out of the top 20 countries with the largest share of women in parliament in 2020, 16 apply some form of gender quota. Mr. Speaker, sir, in these countries, gender quotas have often formed part of comprehensive reforms to advance gender equality in politics and in society. Political will is required to enact ambitious quotas, but for them to bear fruits, we must also insensitize political parties to recruit women and ensure equal access to resources and media coverage during campaigns. Build a more gender-sensitive political culture, support civil society efforts to empower women and girls, and remove all societal, economic, and legal barriers to women's full autonomy. Mr. Speaker, sir, progress has been achieved in every corner of the globe through decisive action by political leaders, men and women alike. Everywhere, male speakers have paved the way for women to lead, and women speakers have served as spectacular role models for other women. Mr. Speaker, sir, gender equality is everyone's responsibility. Thus, national parliaments should lead the way by becoming fully gender-sensitive institutions where women and men share responsibilities and where there's a culture of zero tolerance towards sexism, harassment, and violence against women, in line with the IPU guidelines on this matter. Parliament must be gender-sensitive, inclusive, and family-friendly workplaces. Mr. Speaker, sir, I take this opportunity to urge all honorable senators to walk the talk and aim to achieve gender parity by 2030. I also take this opportunity to invite all of you to our pre-International Women's Day breakfast meeting tomorrow, the 5th of March, 2020 at 7:30 in the new restaurant, New Wing, Main Parliament Building. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
That is very good, Madam President. And I was there when she was elected. And I think she's right to say that we must lead by example because the Senate leads IPU. I have a brief communication before I allow a few senators to contribute. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting students and teachers from PCEA Makadara School, Nairobi County. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you, Senator Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to join the distinguished Senator for Nakuru on that statement. And I expected that she would acknowledge that you are truly here, Mr. Speaker, and you, Speaker, come from a county that has made major strides in women elections. In Bungoma County, out of 45 wards, we have 13 elected women, which is just too shy of the 1/3 constitutional rule. And out of those, Mr. Speaker, the only woman majority leader in Kenya in the assemblies is in Bungoma. And the chief whip is also a woman. The chairperson of budget is a woman, and they do a fantastic job. So as we talk about women liberation, I expected also the distinguished senator to acknowledge that the last frontier of women oppression, Saudi Arabia, last year, opened a very small window by now allowing women to drive and to go and watch football. Something that they were never allowed to do before. But it's that crack and window that will eventually open up the door. And as I speak, Mr. Speaker, I want to salute people, women like the distinguished senator for Isiolo, for Uasin Gishu, who took the gauntlet and faced men and raced against them and defeated them and came to this house in their own right. So I want to urge my sisters, women senators, don't wait to be given. Go for it. Mwalimu Nyerere said, don't wait to be made relevant by anybody. Fight for your space, fight for your relevance. And once you are I was once nominated like you are, one term, and that was the end. So move on and go and wrestle these seats from men, because as you say, what men can do, women can do even better. So we salute our women folk, and we encourage you not to fight for tokenism, but fight for rights. And the rights are fought through competition and not through tokens.
Senator Sakaja.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to first, on your behalf, or rather on behalf of the House, to welcome the students from Makadara in Nairobi. These are my constituents. I ask that they feel very welcome and to see what their senator is doing amongst other senators, and to know that one day, whatever they choose to put their minds to, and especially the girls who are there, seeing that it is International Women's Day on the 8th, that whatever you put your mind to and your heart to, if you're disciplined and you believe in God and your abilities, you will make it. I look forward to visiting them soon. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank also Mr. Speaker, Senator Kika, Madam President of the IPU, for bringing this statement. She forgot to say that in this House, there are also champions, male champions for women, he for she movement. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to have led a delegation to CSW the other year. But when I was going there, some members were complaining, saying, why is Sakaja going to Mikutano ya Wamama? Mr. Speaker, the agenda, or you're wondering why we left you? Mr. Speaker, the campaign for gender equality is one which affects us all. In fact, this year's Women's Day, the theme is I am Generation Equality, realizing women's rights, each for equal. That's the hashtag, Mr. Speaker. And it's talking about now the campaign moving one generation lower. Mr. Speaker, it is not just any other International Women's Day. This year, Mr. Speaker, it is the 5-year milestone towards achieving SDGs. It is the 20th anniversary of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security. And it is also the 10th anniversary of the UN Women establishment, Mr. Speaker. So it's a special one. And this one I am dedicating this year's to my daughter, Emily, because I pray that by the time she comes of age, Mr. Speaker, there will be no difference between what is seen as a horizon or a limit for a woman as that is there for a man. Anything that is available out there, career-wise, professionally, women should be able to get, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, girls and women have been undervalued for a long time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, women have to work more and earn less. In politics and leadership, they have to do twice as much to get half the attention that men get, Mr. Speaker. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, I'm proud, as chair of, which committee was that? Cohesion and Equal Opportunities, we brought the 30% AGPO, 30% procurement opportunities for women, youth, and persons with disability. In as much as the uptake is low and there's been a lot of people playing games, these are things that we must continue championing so that our women can be economically free, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, politically, I am proud because I have been a party leader. We're very few in this House. My distinguished uncle, and I think yourself, Mr. Speaker, you've been a party leader. In the 2013 election, when I was chairman of the National Alliance, Mr. Speaker, out of the 16 women elected, half were from the National Alliance, TNA, 8 out of 16, Mr. Speaker. Madam President was a speaker in the Nakuru County Assembly, courtesy of that. And the trick was not giving women any favor in the election, but making sure there's a free and fair playing ground. When there's an even playing ground, women will excel and young people will excel, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, I pray that we can be able to ensure we get more women elected. Our claim to democracy is severely tainted when half of the team is not on the field, Mr. Speaker. We cannot have a world or a country where half of the team is left out of the field and left just to men. Even with the corruption cases, the ones affecting women are very few. Though the ones who commit the crimes are very vicious. But there are very few cases, Mr. Speaker, that involve women. So thank you, Madam President, for bringing this. We will support you. And tomorrow I want to urge male members, please let us attend this breakfast. Let us show our women colleagues that we support them, because a candle does not lose its light when lighting another candle. Let us support what they're looking for in the 30%. Let us support the quest for gender parity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mtula Kilonzo Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. This Parliament, and particularly the Senate, nominated me to be a rapporteur for the IPU Parliament on gender parity. And the theme then, and I believe maybe Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru borrowed the building bridges from there, was how men can build bridges together with women, where men become the champions for gender parity. Mr. Speaker, I am unapologetically a champion of gender parity. Unapologetically. And it's at 50%. My party believes the same. If we take power, it's going to be 50-50. No negotiation. Yes, that's the way it is. So, and I do so because, yes, that is a promise. I just want to confess that even when I was advising Dulo, even our own party was discriminating her, and I was advising her at that time. And because we want to encourage our daughters, you know, I have a very strong sister who's a lawyer, we want to encourage our children and our daughters that they are not growing up in a country where the men and their brothers are going to discriminate them. Whether it's positions of employment, whether it's positions of leadership, it is a fallacy, Mr. Speaker. It is a fallacy to have 30%. It's a fallacy. That whilst the women are 50%, we are saying even 30% is a ceiling. It cannot be. We must continue saying that women must occupy positions of leadership. Lastly, there is a certain correlation between development and recognition of women. Rwanda is at 66%. No wonder Rwanda is doing better than Kenya by far. Sweden, Norway, and amongst the Nordic countries that are the richest in the world, balanced budgets. And where I went with Senator Dulo, everybody was in shock and awe, because in all positions of leadership, 1, 2, and 3 were women. Therefore, it is my submission there is a correlation between underdevelopment, corruption, tribalism, and discrimination of women. That's where Kenya is. But if you want to know, whilst most of us do not recognize the efforts made by Senator Beth Mugo, I got the Atlas of the World, Women, Atlas. And in that acknowledgement, one name of a Kenyan by the name Senator Beth Mugo was recognized for her unrelenting fight for women of this world. That's what it takes for for leadership in this country. So it's recognition. Fight for your space. It's not a question of tokenism. Get there. Fight and wrestle these men out of business. I'm looking for a country where you have a president like Croatia a lady who takes their national team to the World Cup. That sort of thing. Not a meeting of stags. That's why you are giving us problems. Jubilee government, you are too many men in Jubilee.
What's your point of order, Senator Sakaja?
Mr. Speaker, was it, surely, is it in order? He speaks for 10 minutes very well, and in the last minute, he spoils it by bringing in Jubilee. I think the case is the same in all our parties, Mr. Speaker, including Wiper.
That is what happens in. That's what happens in football. A goalkeeper can do very well, and then he lets in the goal in the 89th minute, and the match is over. Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity, and I wish to join my colleagues in congratulating Senator Kika. I think, Senator Kika, you need to hear that. And Senator Matangi, please take your seat. Women are in charge today. Mr. Speaker, let me thank Senator Kika for this statement because she has really represented Kenyan women in IPU, in this country, all over the world. Number two, I will actually thank the Speaker of the Senate. I remember when Senator Kika was looking for this opportunity to travel for IPU first meeting, we went with her to see the Speaker and to request him to give Senator Kika the opportunity. And he did. And the first time he gave her the opportunity is when she was elected the president of IPU. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for lifting the hands of women in this House. Number three, Mr. Speaker, the theme for this year is fighting for your right as women. And I think, let me say, we have come from very far as women. And where we are today, we have really struggled to be where we are. And I think men, some of them, wherever they are, they have really supported us to be where we are today. Yeah? Number three, Mr. Speaker, I can give my own experience. Women do struggle, do fight for those positions. By the end of the day, when the real action comes, we are shortchanged. I remember I really supported Jubilee. Senator Mutula can bear me witness. When I was actually almost thrown out of Jubilee last minute, yeah? And I participated in all activities of Jubilee, writing manifestos, attending meetings, putting everything in order, yeah? Unfortunately, they had to bring a man against me to contest in Jubilee. And the government then didn't actually take me seriously when they were going around saying that this one, she will not make it to the Senate. Why is she wasting her time? And before the result was actually announced is when now so-and-so calls me from somewhere. We are so proud of you. Yeah? So I'm just giving an example. Yeah? So clearly, we are struggling. We are working hard. But that working hard can only be recognized when you have made it.
I can see you are yielding to pressure. Can you say, what's your point of intervention?
Mr. Speaker,
he's on a point of order.
Let me finish. He's taking my points. Okay.
Let him.
Mr. Speaker, in all fairness, and I really, feel for Senator for what she went through, but as she says that, she should also remind this House that courtesy of Jubilee, she's the first female deputy leader of majority. Even when you bite, you must blow a bit. You bite, you blow.
Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have to blow the trumpet for me. I can do that. Yeah? Mr. Speaker, it's good actually to share the experience so that people can understand where we have come from. And as he said, after the call is when I was actually been promised the position of deputy majority leader, having worked entirely without their support. And let me take this opportunity to thank Isiolo community, Isiolo voters, having trusted me as a woman, yeah, and more so a Muslim woman to have been given this position, yeah. So I really thank them because this can open a way for other women in our countries and even in our counties. Mr. Speaker, having said that, we have gained a lot, but we are still having a lot of problems. Access to resources. Women especially in the rural areas, we are having a lot of challenges. Like the 30% of the contract to be given to women, Mr. Speaker. Today, men are actually even going for those contracts, which is not even fair, and it is given to them. This morning, I was actually calling civil society to support women in my county to celebrate International Women's Day. Unfortunately, the county government, where they have a budget for gender, Mr. Speaker, they cannot support those women. It's really unfortunate. Shame on them. Mr. Speaker, violation is still happening. Gender-based violence, FGM, husband beating wives, it's still happening, and vice versa, as he says, maybe in some cases, which is actually like 1%, yeah? Mr. Speaker, reproductive right is a right within the provision of our Constitution. Unfortunately, our women are dying in most of those hospitals. The government has provided a lot of money, especially to take care of women's reproductive rights, and women are actually denied those opportunities, which we still continue to fight. Finally, politics, we have made strides. And this last election, we have many women who have been elected in various positions. And I hope our sisters, we should gather more courage and fight for those positions. As our colleagues have said, nobody will lift your hand and say, come for this position. You have to fight for those space and make sure that we are equal. Not biologically, but fighting for opportunities. We are equal, and we should fight for those positions. Finally, recognizing women who have gained in various positions. But I think as a country, we must actually take International Women's Day seriously, so that we recognize that day, what we have achieved and what we need to achieve. Because normally International Women's Day in our country is a low key, where it is looked like, you know, it's women issues. Men don't participate. I've participated in several of them. But I think as a country, we need to give it weight so that we can recognize the gains of women in this country and also encourage others to come up in fighting for those positions and also fighting for their rights. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, I can see a lot of interest. The rest, I'll give you 3 minutes each. Senator Musuruve.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I want to congratulate the President, IPU, Senator Kika, and also for thank her for coming up with this statement. Indeed, it is an honor for the women of Africa. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, currently the theme for this year is each for equal. And when we are talking of each for equal, we are saying that an equal world is an enabled world. And we are saying that when it comes to gender parity, when it comes to ensuring that the women are somewhere, it has to take everyone. Everyone on board has a duty, has a responsibility of ensuring that the women achieve. When we are celebrating the Women World Day, we are actually celebrating women's achievement politically, socially, economically, and also culturally. And when we look at the history of women development, Honorable Speaker, we see that women have come from very far, because at one point in 1913, there were very few women who are even attending this summit. But with time, women started attending, and we want to say that women can never make it without the men. We need the men to actually come in and stand for women in order for us to reach somewhere. And that is why this year the theme is each for equal, because we have realized that when we have also the goodwill of men, it is possible.
Let's consult in low tones. I can see so many of you on your feet. Yes, Senator.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. So what you're saying that even as women, if we have the support of the men on our side, we can go very far, and it is not possible to have sustainable development if we have women lagging behind. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, when we are talking of each for equal. We are talking about each for equal everywhere. In the media, it should be each for equal. So when it comes to media coverage also, there's need for women who have actually made it to really be shown in the media to mentor others, because when it comes to setting the agenda, the media is very important. So the mainstream media should come out and really show women who are really making it, because we must progress. Women have stagnated for quite some time, but I want to really appreciate that in many countries in Africa, women are actually making a milestone and they're progressing. And that is why we are even saying right now that even as women, if the two-third gender rule fails, there's still a window for us, because currently we are lobbying for more positions as women. We are talking of opposite gender rule. That will help in increasing also women's visibility politically, socially.
Your time is up. Your time. No, the world has heard you. You loudly and clearly. You must go. Okay, 1 minute.
The world must hear this, that even when you're talking about women empowerment, when you're talking about women in leadership, let us also consider women with disabilities who are even forgotten. Because even in the media, when we look at the women who are being profiled, we do not see women with disabilities being profiled, even internationally. Internationally, President IPU kindly take it, take it worldwide, so that even women with disabilities are profiled, so that we are not leaving behind other women as we make, the mainstream women climb up the ladder. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for adding me the opportunity. Thank
Senator
you.
Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to congratulate the IPU President, Senator Susan Kika, and say women issues should also become men issues, because, and I want to encourage women as part of all these issues, we should use men as the champions of most of these women issues in the world. And I was telling my chair, Senator Sakaja, although CSW has been cancelled because of coronavirus fears, that he should have allowed some of us to travel to CSW, because men can champion more for the issues of women. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, from where I come from in Nandi, I'm proud, because out of 30 MCAs, we have 5 elected female MCAs, Mr. Speaker, and I think that is what we should encourage. And I think my neighbor also, Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Order, members, let us consult in low tones. The Senator Nandi is making a pregnant point.
So I want to say, even in Nandi, for example, Mr. Speaker, out of 30 MCAs, 5 of them were elected women, and we are very proud of it because it is unique. Wazingishu, my neighboring senator, is a woman of prolific profile, Senator Professor Margaret Kamar, and of course he might become the future governor of Wazingishu. And these are some of the things we want to encourage, Mr. Speaker, sir. Even as we discuss issues of affirmative action, issues of assisting women, achieving gains. I know it has not been easy, but I want to congratulate Senator Susan Kika and all women. In fact, my leader, Senator Fatuma Dulo, and many women, at least in our Council of Governors, although we lost Dr. Joyce Laposo, we have quite a number of women, although some of them do not give good picture for women. Here in the Senate, I'm proud of all the women senators that were elected duly, and we are very proud of them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think women issues should be given priority. Finally, Mr. Speaker, even as we have the national discourse, and even as we have the validation programs of the BBI, I want to encourage Senator Susan Kiga, the IPU president, to have a cogent presentation before the BBI committee so that women issues can be captured. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Basi tusikize Kiswahili kidogo, Senator Zawadi.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Na pia nataka kumpongeza Senator Susan Kihika kwa kuleta huu mjadala wa kina mama. Unajua Mheshimiwa Spika, Mwenyezi Mungu aliumba mwanamke akiwa ametulia sana. Maana kilikuwa kiumbe cha mwisho kuumbwa. Mwanamke alikuwa kiumbe cha mwisho kuumbwa, vitu vyote vilikuwa vimeumbwa, lakini akaona bado havitoshi, kuna upungufu. Ndio maana akamuumba mwanamke. Kwa hivyo mwanamke ni kiumbe ambaye hafananishwi na mtu mwingine yoyote, ni kiumbe cha kipekee na kiumbe ambacho kina hadhi kubwa Mwenyezi Mungu pia akakipa. Na vile vile kwa uchache tu, Kuna msemo siku hizi nasikia wazungusho ukizungumzwa kwamba gavana akiwa mwanamume, deputy ama mwanachini wake awe mwanamke. Mimi napinga hilo, nasema gavana akiwa mwanamke, mwanachini wake awe mwanamume, manake tuwaweza kina mama. Na si mambo na pesa.
Senata Mwenye Haji, what is your point of hoja ni gani?
Si nia yangu ya kumsimamisha Seneta Zawadi, lakini anaposema kwamba mwanamke ni kiumbe maalumu ama tofauti, na wakati tunajua mwanamke alitoka kwa ubavu wa mwanamume.
Seneta Zawadi, endelea.
Wajua mahali pengine hapana mjadala. Upende ukatae mwanamke kiumbe muhimu. Maana kama ulikuwa Amana sana, mbona ubavu utolewe nitengezwe mimi? Na ulikuwa uko nao mwilini mwako mwenyewe. Kwa hivyo mwanamke ni kiumbe muhimu, hilo tukubali hilo kwanza. Alafu pia nataka kushukuru serikali ya Kenya. Pamoja na yote ambayo iko nayo, imenifanya mimi nimekaa hapa Senate leo. Ni kwa sababu ya serikali ya Kenya, vile vile na vyama vyetu ambavyo tuko navyo. Najipongeza kama Senate ambaye nimekaa hapa, lakini bado sijatosheka kama vile Jacob alikuwa anampenda Rachel, lakini hakumpata, akampata Lea, si alikuwa amemtaka, lakini hakufa moyo, akarudi pale pale mpaka akampata Rachel. Nasi pia vile vile tuko hapa, lakini bado tuna ari na mawazo ya kwamba kesho tutapata pale mahali tupakuwa tukipataka. Seneta nani Wetangula, lako hilo ninakupa. Tuko hapa, lakini kisha baada ya muda na sisi pia tutatoka tuwe na vile vitu ambavyo tunavitaka. Mwisho nikimalizia, nataka kumsifu mwanamke. Mwanamke amejibobea mpaka kwa jua kali yupo. Si vyeo tu vikubwa vikubwa, hata jua kali. Wanawake wamekuwa wabunifu. Wanafanya kazi zote ambazo ilikuwa mwanamke anaonekana hawezi fanya. Na vile vile pia vyama vyetu pia saa zingine vituangalie vyama vya kisiasa. Maana mara nyingi ukisimama ulizwa umeolewa, na mume haulizwi umeoa. Kwa hivyo kuna sheria fulani ambazo bado za kutugandamiza kama wanawake, kama jamii. Tuziondoe. Mwanamke ni kiumbe mwingine kama kiumbe chochote, anaweza fanya kazi yoyote ile ambayo mwanamume anaweza fanya. Tusibaguane kwa misingi ya kijinsia. Sote tuko sawa mbele za Mungu. Asante.
Senata Mwenye Haji.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia hoja ya Seneta Nakuru, Seneta Kika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza nampongeza Seneta Kika kwa kuleta mswada huu kuadhimisha siku ya kina mama ambayo itakuwa tarehe 8 mwezi wa 3 mwaka huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa wanawake walipata matatizo mengi huko nyuma, lakini sasa tunaona kuna mwangaza umetokea katika vita vyao dhidi ya kubaguliwa, dhidi ya itikadi za zamani zile ambazo ziko kinyume na maadili na kanuni, na vile vile pia dhidi ya tuweza kusema ujinga, kwa sababu wakati tulipopata uhuru mara ya kwanza tulikuwa tunapigana na vita vitatu: umaskini na ujinga. Kwa hivyo tumeona kwamba wanawake wamepiga hatua kubwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, katika vita dhidi ya mambo hayo. Mheshimiwa Spika, mbali na kwamba wanaume pia wanachangia kuregea nyuma kwa wanawake, kwa sababu shida ambazo Seneta Zawadi amezungumzia, kwa mfano kuulizwa wewe umeolewa ama hujaolewa wakati unataka nafasi ya kisiasa, hiyo ni swala kwamba unambagua mwanamke kwa sababu ya hali yake ya jinsia. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, mambo mengine lazima wanaume sasa wasonge mbele ili wahakikishe kwamba wasiwache kina mama nyuma. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimefurahi pia kwamba majuzi serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta ilimchagua msichana anaitwa Nadia kutoka Mombasa, msichana ambaye ni katika wale ambao wako miaka chini ya 30 kuwa ni permanent secretary ama ni katibu wa kudumu katika wizara ya ICT. Ni jambo ambalo ni la kutia moyo sana, kwa sababu limeweza kuinua wasichana wadogo wao, na wao pia wawe na matumaini kwamba serikali inaangalia maslahi yao na pia kwamba wanaweza kuongoza katika nchi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo kwa kumalizia ni kwamba ni jambo ambalo lazima tuwatie moyo wanawake, wahakikishe kwamba wanaweza kufikia malengo yao kwa upeo mkubwa zaidi. Mheshimiwa Spika, unasemekana kwamba kwamba kila kwenye mwanamke ambaye amefaulu nyuma yake kuna mwanamume. Kwa hivyo lazima tuhakikishe kwamba tunasaidia wanawake kupata malengo yao ya kimaisha na vile vile pia ya ulimwengu utakaofuata. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba wasichana wetu ni lazima pia walindwe na itikadi mbovu kama zile za ukeketaji, ndoa za mapema, na mambo mengine ya kubakwa, kwa sababu wao ndio watakuwa
Senator wako Naomi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very important statement, as I also congratulate our President, IPU's President, and also thank the people of Nakuru who did not make any mistake by electing Senator Kihika, because she's a great woman. She has represented us as Senate very well and as women, and she's also representing the great people of Nakuru very well. So I congratulate them, as I also congratulate Senator Kihika for the great things that she's doing for this nation on behalf of women. Madam Speaker, we know as Kenyans, we know that women are very committed in whatever they do. But unfortunately, the only time men distance themselves from women is when it comes to position. All these other times they try their best to please women, to get close to them, to do all the good things for them. But when it comes to position, men become so selfish, such that they don't want to face even a woman. And that is why development in Kenya has not been very fast. Madam Speaker, we have also seen from experience, in this House we have few women who are elected senators, and you cannot compare them to our colleagues. Madam Speaker, like Senator Dulo, who comes from Isiolo, she has always stood firm and be there for her people, supported her people, and also represented this House very well. So we congratulate those of us who have been elected, as we also urge the others who are here, like me. I thank my Jubilee Party for nominating me and for giving me this opportunity, but we should also aim higher, fight for the positions that we want to acquire in future. Madam Speaker, we know very well that young women are there who are talented, who are committed. We need to encourage them, because in the counties, if you observe, you can clearly see that women are intimidated in many ways. We cannot allow that, and I encourage all the women, and especially the MCS who are there, to stand, to be firm, to be focused, and to always fight for their right. And unless they do that, men will never remember them when it comes to leadership. Madam Speaker, we need to nurture our young girls who are coming up, because the generations to come, we need to empower them so that they can compare themselves with.
Honorable Senators, Senator, your time is up. Time has gone. Honorable Senators, is kindly consult in low voices so that we can also be keen to understand what's going on in the deliberations. And Senator Kika, you know this is your statement. Senator Wario Golich Juma, Senator for Tana River.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi hii. Bi Speaker, nami pia nimesimama kuunga mkono Rais wa IPU Senator Kihika kwa kuleta arifa hii hapa mbeleni yetu. Mimi pia ninaunga mkono hasa wakina mama, wanawake vile tunavyosema, tuweze kuwainua katika nyanja zote za maendeleo, na pia kwa sababu msichana na mvulana ndio huzaliwa katika familia, na hawa wote ni watoto wetu. Na tukiwa tumeinua kijana, ni vyema pia tuinue msichana, kwa sababu katika kujenga taifa thabiti ni lazima kuwe nguvu zote ziwe zinatumika, za wanawake pamoja na wanaume. Wakati hawa wakina mama wanaenda kwa kikombe ya chai, mimi ningeomba seneta wanaume pia waunge mkono na waende wakunywe chai pamoja. Unajua Madam Speaker, kwa mwanamke kutulia zaidi ni lazima mwanaume akue karibu. Katika hali hiyo kweli tumepiga ngoma nyingi ya kuunga mkono wanawake, lakini vile seneta mwenzangu alivyoongea hapa akasema mwanamke ni kiumbe ambaye ametulia sana, na mimi ninajua ametulia sana, lakini kutulia kwake kama maji ya mtungi ni wakati baba yuko karibu. Kwa hivyo tafadhalini, wale senators wanaume, musikose kwenda katika hoteli hiyo. Ukiona mama amekaa peke yake, kaa karibu na yeye ili aweze kutulia kama maji ya mtungi. Na hiyo inaonyesha ishara kabisa wale maseneta wakina mama wale ambao mimi ninawapenda zaidi katika nyumba hii, wao pia wameonyesha kwa ishara wakicheka, nami nitakuwa na nyinyi na tuko nyuma yenu. Hebu tuendelezeni, kwa sababu sisi siku ya leo tunaunga mkono rais wa IPU ambaye ni speaker wa jimbo la Nakuru, ambaye kwa wakati mwingi yeye kwa leo si speaker, leo ni seneta wa Nakuru. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, mimi naunga mkono. Asante kwa kunipatia nafasi.
Finally, Senator Milgo Alice Chepkorir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. First of all, to congratulate Senator Kika for representing Kenya and Africa in IPU very well. Madam Speaker, I think that is actually, that was a highly contested position, but then she was able to to achieve that and stand well in that particular position. And in supporting that motion, Madam Speaker, I want to say that gender equality is actually a human rights issue, but then there is still a lot of gaps existing that will enable women to go up to the decision-making table. Despite the fact that as per now, in the world, we have achieved up to 40% positions, we still have a long way to go. Madam Speaker, you realize that even in Kenya, in the just concluded census, women are well over 50%, and yet in terms of positions in various institutions, we still a very low percentage. Women in this case are still lacking in various areas. There are very few opportunities that are available for women, despite the fact that we are 50%. We own simply less than 1% of the wealth in this country and even in the world over. Women, Madam Speaker, are normally affected by a range of issues, like when it comes to women in the family. In most cases, we realize that when there are very many challenges, normally women are the last to be left in the homes. We have been treated to issues where men have had to run away and leave women with children, and women normally struggle to take them to school. We also have a lot of information that even accessing education is still a challenge for the girl child, even in this country and Africa at large. And Madam Speaker, in issues of health and safety, women are still at a very high risk, particularly when we talk about HIV and AIDS. In most cases, we normally find that some women are very faithful, and normally when men are infected with HIV/AIDS, they normally bring that particular disease to the home, and therefore bringing a lot of devastation. Coming to politics, Madam Speaker, political representation, I think our parties should be implored upon to encourage more women to be brought on board in terms of nomination, because we have.
Honorable Senators, time is spent for statements. We'll request that the rest of the statements be forwarded to the next day, which is tomorrow, and we go to the next order. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Extension of mandate of the Select Committee on the Managed Medical Equipment Services.
Senator Dulo.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I wish to move this motion. Madam Speaker, this is a fairly straightforward motion. First, let me thank this House having given us an opportunity as a committee to look into mess equipment in this country. Madam Speaker, we have actually done a lot in terms of investigation on this particular project. We've visited several parts of the county. We have actually summoned various witnesses who appeared before us. So far where we are, Madam Speaker, I don't want to...
Honourable Senator, please move the motion first.
Oh, sorry. Madam Speaker, thank you. Maybe I was in a hurry to finish this. Now, let me move the motion procedurally. Extension of the mandate of the Select Committee on the Managed Medical Equipment Services that reads, that aware that the Senate resolved to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of medical equipment in the now 119 beneficiaries hospitals countrywide, appreciating that the mandate of the select committee is due to lapse on Friday, 6th March 2020, regretting that due to heavy workload and sheer magnitude of the assignment, the committee is yet to table its report in the House and require more time to hold a hearing with crucial witnesses, among them Mr. James Macharia, the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, who was then the CS Health, PS Gauri, who was then PS Health, Ambassador Meilu, who was also CS then in the Ministry of Health and currently Ambassador for Geneva. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 30 days to enable it conclude its work and table its report in the House. Madam Speaker, as I've said earlier, I wish to thank the House to have given us an opportunity to investigate this matter, and also the trust they have given us as members to serve in this committee. Madam Speaker, as I've said, we have done a lot of work, summoning several witnesses that have handled the equipment under the Ministry of Health, known as MES. Madam Speaker, we have traveled several parts of the county and country. A very good example is my own county where I come from, where equipments are still in the boxes, despite the country paying over 200 million per year. Madam Speaker, the same goes with Elgeyo Marakwet, where my boss majority leader comes from. Some of the equipments that are meant for theater, they are all in the boxes because apparently the information we are given is that those equipments, after they have been supplied with 2, they requested for 3 more. Out of the 5, there is only 1 working, which clearly defeats the purpose why MES was created in this country. This was a very noble idea by the government of Kenya, but unfortunately we are not utilizing those equipments as required by Kenyans. Madam Speaker, we have actually listened to several witnesses in terms of what has transpired. A very good example is yesterday when one of the witnesses who did the pricing of the equipment and the procurement, who told us and even tabled a document that they were given a contract or signed the contract on the 13th of October 2014. And then 17th October the same year, that was 3 days down the line, they submitted their report, which means it's a sheer lie, Madam Speaker. There is no way that whatever consultancy you are given, you can be able to submit within 3 days, and you are paid over 100 million for that kind of consultancy, Madam Speaker. So clearly, a lot of information is coming out. I don't want to preempt the report. And if I may actually just point out one instance where one officer appeared before us, You can imagine Ministry of Health having carried out variation of the figures from 95 to 200. The ministry did its work where they carried out variation below 25. And the information coming to the committee, they don't know how the variation from 95 to 200 was arrived at. And they are actually pointing figures at Treasury, which means we have already sat with CS Treasury, but we'll be forced as a committee to call back to clarify that information, whether they are the ones who did it or somebody else did it. So, Madam Speaker, we have a draft report, and we are actually seeing a lot of information is coming out, which really would benefit our report before we table, and that is why we are requesting this 30 days. Because, like, for example, the contracts that were signed by Ministry of Health, apparently we are getting information that the AG's office was not involved. And yet, this is a lot of money, billions of money that was used for this particular purpose. When AG of this country says he was not involved, and clearly that is breach of contract or breach of procedures. Madam Speaker, AG requested actually to be given more time because he doesn't even have copies of those documents in his own office. And what the committee wanted, it's the backing of AG actually looking at those contracts to see whether the due procedures were followed. For example, the 7Cs contract that was just recently cancelled as a result of investigation by this House. Madam Speaker, AG came out very well, and he said from the word go, ab initio, the contract was fraud. And he even went ahead and said the contract was skewed to benefit the contractor against the government. So clearly, a lot of information is coming out, and we don't want to hurry this process and leave out some of the information that will be useful to this report and also to the country, and that is the reason why we are asking for more extension. We might not take the 30 days, but we feel that there are crucial witnesses that we cannot leave out before we wind up. I thank you. I'll request Senator Wambua to second. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion on the extension of the mandate of the Select Committee on the Managed Equipment Services. Madam Speaker, I do not wish to belabor the point. My chair has ably moved the motion. Madam Speaker, just two things. One, that the things that as a committee are coming across in this mess project are really mind-boggling. It will be very important for this country to get the full details of exactly what transpired and who was involved in doing what. As the chair has said, Madam Speaker, every day that you meet witnesses, you're getting more information that points to a scheme, a premeditated scheme to just loot the public coffers. I'll just give two examples, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yesterday, the witness that appeared before us, and the chair has made reference to the witness, somebody signs a contract that clearly states that there are 42 days to compile an advisory to the government on
Senator Kajwang, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I do not object to the motion and the contribution of Senator Wambua, but I just wanted to find out whether it's in order to refer to a matter before a committee. I just wanted to guide him accordingly so that he does not refer to proceedings of a committee that is yet to report back to the House. Is he in order to refer to the proceedings of the committee?
Senator Wambua, you are out of order because the issue at hand is the extension of time so that the committee is given more time, but not on the substance of the debate, or of the motion.
I'm properly guided, Madam Speaker, but if Senator Kajwang would have just given me a minute, the reference was not on the substance of the proceedings of the committee, but the reason why the committee needs extension. But I'm properly guided. Madam Speaker, I will say that the information that we are receiving, for now, we have already done a draft, but there will be need for us to get more documents from government offices, which documents are becoming critical as we continue meeting witnesses. And the last visit that we had, Madam Speaker, confirmed the fears that we have had in the country, that in the county visits, you will find equipment that is lying in boxes that has not been used, and the original manufacturers of the same equipment confirmed from a visit that in fact some of the equipment that is supposed to be at Meru Hospital is still lying with the manufacturer. And yet the information that the government has given is that all the equipment has been delivered. And so, Madam Speaker, we will need time to get these documents from government, cross-check what is on the ground with the documents that they give us, and within 30 days, Madam Speaker, we shall be able to give this report. Madam Speaker, I second.
Communication from the chair. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting students and teachers from New Junior Campus Academy, Nairobi County. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful stay. I thank you. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that aware that the Senate resolved to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in the now 119 beneficiary hospitals countrywide. Appreciating that the mandate of the select committee is due to lapse on Friday, 6 March 2020. Regretting that due to heavy workload and sheer magnitude of the assignment, the committee is here to table its report in the House and requires more time to hold hearings with crucial witnesses, amongst them Mr. James Macharia, EGH Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, and Public Works. Dr. Nicholas Muraguri, CBS Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, and Ambassador Dr. Cleofas Meilu. Now, therefore, the Senate resolved to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 30 days to enable it conclude its work and table its report in the House. Senator Amana Gertrude Musurube.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to support this motion. And I want to say it's a good thing, yes, to extend the time of the select committee so that they can do thorough investigation. But in as much as we are extending, there's need for this committee to work with speed. And Honorable Speaker, I'm saying like this because at the moment in the country, there's a lot of ills that is happening in the health area, Currently, there are some clinical officers who have gone on strike, and they're still continuing to go on strike simply because of the demands that they're asking for. And whatever they demand for is, when you look at it, it's logical, it's rightful that they are demanding that they want their salaries increased, they want better remuneration, they want to be reinforced because of the nature of work that they do. Honorable Speaker, there's need for even this committee. And I want to ask Senator Dulo and her committee, kindly Senator Dulo, could you also interrogate the nature of the lease equipment? Because I'm certain a lot of money has been used in the 119 hospitals, but is it equivalent for, can it be equated to universal health care? As in, when it comes to delivery, do we have, service delivery with regard to this equipment? Because if the equipments are in the counties and they're not being used, it's just a white elephant project, and yet these equipments are supposed to benefit the health department. They're supposed to benefit Kenyans. At the moment, there are so many Kenyans that are not getting the services simply because of the ills that are going on in the hospitals. And there are a lot of priorities that the Ministry of Health needs to give to the health department, because at the moment when it comes to human resource, we don't have enough, there isn't enough capacity when it comes to human resource in the medical area, and that is core when it comes to achieving universal health care. When it comes to universal health care, it doesn't have to do with equipment. It is a fallacy that when you have equipment, then the universal health care goes up. There's need to find out, are these equipments working? And if they're working, who is operating on them? Do we have the personnel operating on them? And even the personnel there, are they motivated to do the work? Because if they're demotivated and they're not being incentivized, then the equipment is just in vain. Because as you're speaking right now, there's a lot of outcry from the counties that the medics are not being paid, workers have gone on strike, so there's need to actually, this committee, to ensure that money goes to the right priority when it comes to healthcare in the counties, so that we do not have people suffering right now. Even just recently, I saw in the newspapers, I think one of the hospitals, maybe in Nyanza, where they were saying that the infrastructure is not enough, the beds are just there, some hospitals are not complete and all that. So there's need to divert money to the right cause. When it comes to universal healthcare, it doesn't have to do with procuring contracts. Universal healthcare is not supposed to benefit contractors. It is supposed to benefit the common man. And so there's need for this committee to actually interrogate and see, was it a worthy venture, leasing equipment? And if it was not a worthy venture, can the Ministry of Health divert this money to the right cause so that we are able to deliver to the common man? Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I support this motion.
Senator Zani Agnes Philomena.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to support this motion, and I'll do that very briefly. And also, while supporting this motion, allow me, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, to also join you in welcoming the students from New Junior Academy, who I have seen in the balcony, looking very smart and very focused and really following our proceedings. And this is how we do the work here, looking at the interests of counties. And in this case, we're looking at the interests of counties with regard to medical equipment services and what is going on. And a special committee has been formed. Madam Speaker, what is coming through is that there's already a draft, so there's a lot of progress. Number two, they're covering the whole of 47 counties, and that's a lot of work. Madam Speaker, in fact, most of the time when the time is given, when the committees start and they're given the 30 days, it seems a long time, but also considering that there's a lot of work that they're also doing in other committees and also as senators, indeed, in their own counties, I think an extension, given especially that we need a good result. And I think the motion is very clear that they're targeting specific individuals, Mr. Masharia, Mr. Nicholas Muraguri, and Ambassador Cleofas Meilu, and trying to get the feedback from them. I think at the end of the day, we're going to end up with a good result. So I support this motion that they get this extension. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kajwang Moses Otieno, Senator for Homa Bay.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the motion and also to congratulate the team that we commissioned to inquire into what is turning out to be one of the greatest scams of this generation. They have done well in terms of positioning the Senate as a defender of devolution and profiling the Senate as a house that has zero tolerance to corruption and inefficiency in government. Madam Speaker, I just want to encourage the team that if we grant them additional days, let them use it properly and let them engage the public in everything that they do. We must remember, though, that ad hoc committees of this nature are commissioned to undertake a specific project. And Madam Speaker, a project is defined as something with a definite beginning and a definite end. And so we should not be too elastic, and I think this should be the last extension that we are granting to this ad hoc committee so that it can report back to the House. Madam Speaker, it is important that on 14th of April, we will be making a resolution as a House on the division of revenue and the county allocation of revenue bills. And in our decision on the budget policy statement, we had resolved as a House that the payments on the managed equipment scheme should be discontinued. Madam Speaker, that decision should be supported by the resolution or by the recommendations of this select committee. So I want to urge the select committee, even though you have asked for 30 days, please attempt to bring a report back to the House early enough to inform and to influence the position of the Senate on the division of revenue bill and the county allocation of revenue bill. Madam Speaker, the recommendations that will come from this committee, I hope that they will be actionable, they will be specific, they will be achievable and realistic and time-bound so that this country does not continue to bleed. The managed equipment scheme was supposed to be a 7-year program, and the clock is ticking. We're almost coming to the end of this matter, and if you want to save taxpayers, we need to arrest the problem before the project comes to a close. I support, Madam Speaker, but the chair of this committee, please try and bring the report earlier than the 30 days that the House has granted you.
Thank you, Senator. Finally, okay, Senator, you can go ahead and reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the chair who has rushed to another meeting, I want to thank this House for the continued and qualified support and confidence in the committee. The committee, Madam Speaker, and I can see two of our members here, Senator Millicent and Senator Wambua, has done a good job. The scandal that is missed, Madam Speaker, is something startling. 7-year leased equipment is still lying in cartons in hospitals out there as counties are being creamed of 200 million in every year's budget. Things that look like products of fiction are what is coming out. Madam Speaker, so as not to preempt debate, I just want to give you an example of a witness we had yesterday. A professional person, an accountant and an advisor on procurement. His services are procured on the 13th of April 2014. Given 14 days to prepare a value for money assessment for this scheme and hand over to guide and inform the process of procurement. Exactly 3 days later, he hands in a 100-page report, already done when the terms of reference required this fellow to go to all the 47 counties and assess the situation. 3 days, hands in a report. 4 days later, he hands in a second report that now gives a roadmap on the work he's supposed to do. Very, very strange indeed, Madam Speaker. And this is what we are looking at. People are behaving to 63 billion. And it's taxpayers' money being creamed off on the lives of Kenyans. So we thank the House for the support. Senator Kajwang, the distinguished Senator Chair of PAC, we assure you we will bring the report to this House latest within the next 2 weeks, or at least not more than 2 weeks, because we have done substantial work, and as probably my colleagues told you, on Friday morning, we are hearing the ministers and the PSs who are involved in this. The Treasury will be coming back for further questioning. The Attorney General will be coming back for further questioning. And this committee will make this House proud. Madam Speaker, we want to take this opportunity as a committee to thank the media. They have been giving the proceedings live coverage, and Kenyans far and wide in the counties have been sending messages of support, very emotional messages. And we think that this House gave this committee a membership that is committed, a membership that is working hard, a membership that will bring to a halt the pilfering and outright squander and theft of public resources through dubious procurement processes and so on. I thank the House, and I beg, Madam Speaker, to move the motion that the House do extend our time, and I'm happy that the feeling of the House is not only positive but unanimous. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I think this has been a problem going back and forth. It will be very important for the committee to come to give a proper report on this, so that we conclude this matter, because it has been coming up a lot of times without proper solution to the problem. Honorable Senators, I now put the question that aware that the Senate resolved to establish a select committee comprising 9 senators to investigate and establish the facts surrounding the leasing of the medical equipment in the now 119 beneficiary hospitals countrywide. Appreciating that the mandate of the select committee is due to lapse on Friday, 6th March 2020, regretting that due to the heavy workload and sheer magnitude of the assignment, the committee is yet to table its report in the House and requires more time to hold hearings with crucial witnesses, amongst them Mr. James Macharia, HGH, Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works, Dr. Nicholas Muraguri, CBS, Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, and Ambassador Dr. Cleofas Meilu. Now, therefore, the Senate resolved to renew the mandate of the committee by a further period of 30 days to enable it conclude its work and table its report in the House. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order. Okay, so, honorable senators, it seems like we cannot proceed with order number 9, order number 10, order number 11, order number 12, order number 13, order number 14, order number 15, because we are at a point of division. And by the looks of the numbers in the House, it's not possible to attain the mandatory number that is required for us to take a division. So we move forward to order number 16. It's a committee of the whole. I don't see Senator Olekina. It's not in the House. Committee of the whole, that is order number 17. Senator also is not in the House. Order number 18, Committee of the Whole, Senator Majority Leader is not in the House. Senator number 19, Dr. Zani, is she committee, sorry to pause it. Yeah, Senator is in the House, but the committee dealing with the bill the committee is not here. So it means we cannot proceed with order number 19. At the same time, we cannot proceed with order number 20 because Senator Halake is not in the House. She was moving the motion and she had a balance of 47 minutes. Or she had a balance of 5 minutes. She's not in the House, so we cannot proceed with order number 20. Yes, Senator, what's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, on that particular order, the Speaker made a ruling at the commencement of the business of the House today because I rose on a point of order asking whether the motion was properly before the House. And the Speaker has confirmed that debate can continue. But my recollection is that Senator Abshiro had moved. I don't know whether she has to consume all her time for it to be seconded and debate be expedited.
Senator, according to the records we have, she did not complete the moving of that motion. So we cannot proceed. Honorable Senators, even order number 21 cannot proceed because Senator Mangatani, who had Wamatangi, who was in the House and had indicated that he would move it, is not in the House right now. So that brings us to the end of business. Honorable Senators, having concluded and deferred the business of the day, it is now time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 5th March, 2020, at 2:30 p.m.